The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Good morning. Court Radio is now in session. Call 215-227-2727. When you've got legal questions, we've got the answers. This is Court Radio. And now here's your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome to Court Radio. I'm Dean Weitzman and this is your hour to ask legal questions. If you've got them, all you got to do is give us a call at 215-227-2727. As the calls come in, we'll try to tackle your legal issues. If for some reason you can't get through, you can always call that number, 215-227-2727. 24/7. That's the number for My Philly Lawyer. Bada boom. And I'm joined in the studio with my regular co-host, the one and only David M. Rappaport.
Good morning.
Hello,
hey,
Big Dave.
What's up?
You know, we're blessed. It's another day. We're alive and
yes,
doing Court Radio, which is always a fun thing. Remember, folks, if you've got legal issues you've been sitting on, you think you might be able to get them resolved today, all you got to do is give us a call at 215-227-2727, the one number for all of Philadelphia's legal issues every day of the week. You know, folks, the Philadelphia Marathon is afoot today.
Every road is closed.
Every road.
Oh, it seems that way.
All roads leading to Philadelphia are troublesome.
Troubled.
So you should just sit back and relax and enjoy an episode of Court Radio. But if you're going to go out, check to make sure that you can get where you want to go, the way you want to go there, because things are closed. And security is higher as well.
Sure.
You know, in this day and age that we live in, I
all the
think,
terrorists running around.
Yeah, they're trying to make sure that everybody is safe.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Speaking of terrorists,
yes.
It seems like there's the legal issue of refugees and whether they should be allowed to immigrate into the United States. I'm interested to see what our listeners think about that.
I'm not even going to comment. I'm just going to read one thing to you. You tell me if you recognize it.
Okay.
And I'm not even going to make – I have so many comments, but I can't even. All right, here you go. Ready?
Yes, sir.
Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest-tossed to me. I lift my lamp beside the golden door.
Yes. Statue of Liberty.
Statue of Liberty. That's what it says.
And
just keep that in mind before you comment on the refugees.
And that was given to us by France.
Ironically enough, yes.
That was given to us as a gift by France. Yes. And so
not the quote, but the thing.
The
statutes.
There's a ton of governors around the country,
yes,
who refuse to allow Syrian refugees into the country.
Mostly GOP, Republican.
GOP
governors.
We call them Republicans.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you think, you know...
I didn't want to comment, but I'll make the one comment. Here's what I think. Nobody wants terrorists in our country. And quite honestly, besides the very few terrorist acts that have happened in this country, there haven't been many.
Right.
And there have been a lot of terroristic acts by Americans against Americans. Timothy McVeigh, all the way down, all those other ones. Just as many, if not, in fact, more than terrorists from who recognizes ISIS or jihadists or Al Qaeda. So to say that because of what happened in Paris, now we have to be afraid of every Muslim may be a terrorist, is such a horrible, racist thing to do, in my opinion. And harkens back to, I hate making references to past, but we never learn from our past, obviously. But this is the one thing that I can honestly say is almost exactly akin to back when Hitler was in power. Trump wants to categorize all the Muslims. And what Hitler stick a star on every Jew. It's almost the same kind of thing, the same kind of reaction, and
fear-based.
Fear-based, exactly.
Yes.
Fear-based
listen,
action.
Anything that a politician says, i.e., Trump, Carson, all of those dozen or so, Chris Christie,
Right.
all they're doing. These are monkeys in a cage that want to get
so they're responding to the fear. They see people are feared
because they want to get
and
more.
They want to get more. You're absolutely right.
More points on their side of the ledger, so that they can actually be on TV.
But let's be fair. A lot of Democrats did it too. They smelled fear of the constituents and said, "We are only going to be liked unless we have to say this." So all these Democrats wouldn't pass the law to allow the refugees in. An overwhelmingly large amount of Democrats went against what the principles that they say they stand for because, fear. So, yeah, it is totally, I agree, fear-based action. It's never good.
Let's take a caller. Let's take Linda from North Philly on line 4. Hey, Linda, welcome to Court Radio. Oh, Linda. Oh. Linda.
Sounds like she's underwater. Doesn't it sound like that a little bit?
Yeah. She's swimming out to see the Statue of Liberty.
Right.
All right, Linda. Well, we tried.
Call back.
Yeah. Another one bites the dust. Well,
who's next on the line?
Let's see. Let's talk to Chrissy from, is that Willingboro? Willingboro.
New Jersey's number one.
Yes, my number one city in all of New Jersey, Willingboro, New Jersey.
Really?
Yes.
It is.
It's the only place worth going in New Jersey.
Wow. How about that, Chrissy?
Yeah. Chrissy.
Hello.
Hi.
Did you hear all those nice things I said about your city?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All
You
right.
come here for the cheesesteaks, don't you?
Really? Willingboro cheesesteaks are better than Philly cheesesteaks.
Gitanos, right?
Yeah.
Gitanos, okay. Yeah.
They got pizza. They got cheesesteaks.
Yep.
My 14-year-old daughter on September 16th fell off the school bus. This was a child that I can't get to go to the hospital for anything. And her ankle was 3 times the size of it by the time I got to the end of my street. Now,
What? Now, let me ask.
Wait.
Let me just ask you a question for a second.
Yeah, what is it?
Tell me what caused, as best you know, what caused your daughter to fall.
She just slipped off the bus and fell.
Okay.
There's no
The
reason.
driver didn't look. He didn't call 911. He didn't ask, "Do you want me to call your mother?" Nothing.
Okay. So what happened?
On the 18th, I went into the school. I said, my daughter's a big girl. So I said, she needs homeschooling because she cannot move. You know what I mean? I had to get a shower chair just for her to be able to take a shower. Now, she just got an MRI done last week, and it won't be read until Monday. Now, the doctor wrote a letter saying that she had to be homeschooled. When I went in on the 18th of September to the school, the secretary wouldn't let me speak to the principal, the vice principal. I told her what happened. She said, "It's not my problem." So my daughter missed like 3 weeks of school. I went to that day. I went to the guidance office and I asked them to just get her work ready because I don't know how long she's going to be out. Now every day they said pick it up Monday in the afternoon. It wasn't ready. Every day, I had the kids
Chrissy,
go in before they left.
Chrissy, what exactly is the question though, so that we can get to the answer?
My daughter is hurt. And now they want more. Okay, her doctor put her out for homebound, and then it went all the way up to the top of the biggest person at the school, and he asked the nurse, "Well, I need a better description of how long she's going to be out." Okay, fine. My daughter has been on a roll since kindergarten.
What's the question now? What do you want to know?
The question is, I don't know what to do. I got a letter yesterday saying that they took her off credit. Like, she won't get no credits for the year, and she's always been honor roll. She's in all honors classes, and I can't get nobody to help me.
Is this a public school?
Yes.
Do they have
And
counselors
told me,
there?
Like the nurse told me that if the school is responsible, and then the school's telling me transportation is responsible. I asked transportation for a copy of the tapes, and they were like, "Oh, well, we only see what's on the front to the back of the bus." But then, yeah, he slipped up and told me that he's seen her fall.
Well, first of all, let's address that real quick. From what you describe, if she really just slipped and fell and nothing caused her to slip, I would be very hard-pressed to tell you that there's any claim for that. Okay? It doesn't sound to me, in order to and we were going to talk about today, actually slip and falls.
And so your timing couldn't be better.
Yeah, it couldn't be better. I mean, one of the basic tenets of a slip and fall case is you as the person, the victim, the one who's injured, needs to be able to know or show exactly what it was you fell on and why you fell, so that you can show that the person who owns that property was negligent in causing you to fall. If you just fall because you missed the step or you didn't take the right step, it's going to be very difficult to show that they did something wrong. Unless the steps are not made properly, or
right.
You know,
but the reason you're calling is got more to do with
the school,
yeah. and their, your daughter doesn't have, and I don't think you thought she had, a personal injury claim for bodily injuries. She doesn't, because you have to show, as David said, negligence. There is no negligence here. But then the question is, okay, forget it. Well, who cares where she was injured?
Right.
She has an injury which prevents her from attending class. And does the school have an obligation, a legal obligation, to accommodate her in her needs at home? And the answer is yes, they do. And if they're not helping you, then you need to step it up. And usually the first step up in an instance like this is to go to your local politician, who is a Willingboro politician who will deal with the Willingboro School District. That's usually the way these things get off a base. Now, could you bring a complaint or lawsuit against the school for failing to accommodate your daughter's needs? Yes, you can. It would be financially difficult probably for you. It would be on your shoulders to bring that lawsuit. And at the end of the day, all you're going to get from the school district is they're going to have to do what we believe they have an obligation to do. They're not going to have to give you money to pay back for the legal fees. So that's probably not the best way to go about doing this. And I would say, if you stay on the line, okay, I happen to actually have some Willingboro politicians in my cell phone here. And I'm going to give it to Monica. And Monica can give it to you, and then you can call them on Monday morning.
And I'm not so sure. I mean, I kind of agree, but I don't know if you have to take that step right away. I think you can plant a little pea in the mattress of the school with going to the counselors and people who can advocate for you as well. But, that's just my thought.
I've tried that.
All right, well then maybe.
And there's actually someone in the school that I don't want to get in trouble that said, get a personal injury lawyer, because they're not.
That's wrong advice.
Wrong advice, but
that ain't gonna do
But stay on the line. Monica's got a number for you. Hopefully, this person will be able to help you out. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
All right. Hold on. Yeah, sometimes things can be done through lawyers.
Yeah, that doesn't sound to me like it would do anything.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk to Linda from North Philly, who's back on the line on line 5. Hey, Linda, welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning.
We lost you the last time. You were lost.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Okay. My question is about a house guest.
House guest?
I asked. Yeah.
That won't leave.
Yeah.
David.
How'd I guess that?
Yeah.
I could hear it in her voice. Go ahead.
How long he? Well, first of all, is it a he or she?
A she.
A she. How long has she lived there?
Well, she stayed there for like 2 weeks now so far. It's going into, but it's supposed to have been a couple of days. Now it's like I have nowhere to go, but that was not what she was supposed to do. I want her out.
Yeah.
Right now she's squatting. What do I do to get her out?
Yeah.
According to the law, I mean, she doesn't pay me anything. I didn't ask for nothing.
Yeah.
That was not the agreement. What do I do?
Here's what you have to do.
Doesn't matter.
You can't call the police. Okay, because they're going to come out and they're going to say, well, how long has she been there? You're going to say 2 weeks, and they're going to say, well, nothing we can do about it.
Right.
She has rights after 72 hours.
Even if she's not paying a penny.
Yeah, 72
Oh, my
hours. 72 hours.
Well, that's not all bad. You can do something.
You can, but you're gonna have to go, I guess, to landlord-tenant court to have her evicted.
Correct. And that whole process, if it all works perfectly, will take at least 90 days.
Or
He has no lease.
Or
It doesn't matter.
yeah,
A squatter actually has rights. But squatter means you just break into the property and live there.
you actually invited her in.
Yeah, right.
You know? So that's one way. You can also go get you could try to get an order by the judge for protection from abuse. Like if you two got into a fight or an argument and you felt unsafe in your own home, I suppose you could go down to court and try to get a protection from abuse or a stay away order, and then that would be enough for the police to remove her from the premises.
Okay, you mean file a private criminal complaint?
Well, yes, I suppose. But
I just I kind of think that if you filed a landlord-tenant eviction, I mean, what person in their right mind would stay there? You would hope that she would leave right away.
They learn how to stay until the sheriff come, okay? And it's costing them money.
Right. And do you actually live there as well?
No, I do not.
Okay, well, that's what makes it even harder, because then they are truly a squatter. And you file very simply. You go down the municipal court, you file a landlord-tenant action, and it'll take you 10 minutes to write it up. They'll help you. It's very inexpensive, and you get a quick court date. You'll win that, but then they have 30 days to leave, and if they don't, you have another 30 days. You got to wait for the sheriff.
All right. So what rights did she have when I changed the locks?
Good question. I mean,
she's living on somebody else's utilities too. Come on, I mean.
Look, you could change the locks. She has no ability to prove that she lives there.
Well, no,
exactly.
But besides that, there's nothing, I don't think, which it would make it illegal for the owner of a property to change his or her locks.
I agree.
And if the person who was squatting happened not to be home at that time, and then they come home,
if there's anything they can prove that's theirs in there and that they were living there, then you're going to have a problem.
Clothes.
Yep,
they could belong to anybody.
Yeah,
right.
They could, but
you're now getting into a realm where we can't really advise you on what to do.
I know people who are in this circumstance, and then they go get a driver's license or an ID card with that address on there, and it just gets harder and harder to get them out. But you can, but it's going to take some time. And our advice, our
legal advice,
and our official advice is to go down to landlord-tenant court. That's our advice.
You could do both, by the way.
Yeah, you could change.
I can file that private criminal complaint if I feel threatened, because she threatened me.
Well, yeah.
Well, see, I thought when I said that, in all fairness, I thought you guys were living in the same house.
So did I.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, you could forget that.
Yeah, you could forget that advice.
But look, you can do both of the things that you could do the one thing that you suggested and filing the eviction too, so that you have both things going at the same time. Like, in other words, changing the locks and filing. But really, if ultimately a judge deems her to be a squatter, someone who is in that property, your act of changing the locks is not really a proper one, legally speaking. However, I get what you're saying about what the situation is now. So technically, you can do both at the same time and see what happens.
All right, we got to go. Thanks for calling Court Radio. Have a great Sunday. Yeah, that's a
tough situation.
Yeah, it is a tough situation.
Always,
You know what else is a tough situation?
What?
Not to segue, but I am.
Okay.
Pennsylvania, our state.
Yeah.
Our
Commonwealth.
Our little hovel.
Yes.
Okay, leads the nation in young men's overdose deaths.
Really?
And New Jersey?
In the country?
In the country.
Wow.
Is fourth.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And do you know, I say this because it's near and dear to us here at Court Radio. We talk about addiction and we talk about recovery a lot here as a side thing, But
overdose deaths?
It actually, in the last decade, overdoses killed twice as many people as homicide. You know, the homicide rates are always, the commissioner, he's out here, he's got his brass on, and he's talking about, hey, we got 4 less homicides than last year, and aren't we, we're doing great. How about the fact that there's 2 times as many people
what about this one?
that lose their life to
what
to
about
overdose?
Bucks County and Gloucester counties.
Yeah.
So Gloucester in Jersey and Bucks in PA
lead in
overdose fatality deaths or fatality rates among males 19 to 25.
Yeah.
That's 3 times Philadelphia's rate. So Bucks, so the outer lying areas of the cities, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think it would be Camden in New Jersey, but it's not.
Right.
It's Gloucester.
And it would be, downtown Philly or somewhere around,
215-227-2727. David,
that's alarming.
It is alarming, and you know what? It's like screaming into a vacuum. I mean, nobody hears. Nobody hears. We need to spend money on recovery
and not
less on jails. Yeah. We need to take money from the police. No, I'm not saying that. We need to put more money into education and recovery. That's it. And until we do, the crime rate's not going to go down. The jails will remain stuffed full of people. I mean, it's a simple solution. And these morons who call themselves politicians, who are running for office, who want to scream about Syrians, are spending no time talking about the real epidemic in this country that's destroying the fabric of the United States. There you go.
Wow. He has spoken. So let it be written, so let it be
And
done.
did you know that Steve Jobs' father was Syrian?
I did. I think I told you that.
No, you didn't.
I didn't?
No, I
told
read it
somebody
yesterday.
that.
Okay.
Oh, I told someone else that they didn't know. Yeah. Most people don't know that.
Yeah.
He was a Syrian refugee, actually.
Right.
Or an immigrant.
So if we didn't let him in,
you'd have no iPhone.
Well, yeah, it might be in Beijing,
right.
or somewhere else.
No iMac, no MacBook, no anything of Apple.
Apple might be
might be called date. The dates there are in the middle, or kumquat, or I don't know what is a. Certainly not an Apple.
All right. 215-227-2727. Let's talk to Terrell from West Oak Lane. I love West Oak Lane, Terrell. How are you, bud?
Oh, I'm doing fine this morning.
Good.
I would like to thank Court Radio for taking my call. I was listening to your opening segment, and I was listening to the message that was given as far as the Statue of Liberty is concerned.
Yes, sir. What do you think about the Syrian refugees? Keep them out?
I think first and foremost we should be careful in stereotyping people
exactly.
as far as their religion or beliefs and practices. But we shouldn't be like the Statue of Justice and be blindfolded to the fact that there are terrorists here. They want to destroy this country, not just the country, but also the world. And we wouldn't want that message on the Statue of Liberty to become an epitaph for the United States. So we should be very careful in who we allow in.
I like that.
I agree, but we aren't blind. See, what everyone's forgetting in this debate, I've seen online and all these comments.
Just generally, Terrell's comment
He's right.
that when people come in, we need to tear them apart.
But we do.
To make sure
they don't
that
just come in. That's my point. People people think they just walk in and we have a vetting process for refugees. Refugees don't just automatically come into our country unsupervised and not looked at. There's a vetting process that goes on.
Yeah.
There's a process.
And what we're talking about, also are children. So, like, a 3-year-old isn't a terrorist.
Right.
So, I mean, there are literally thousands and thousands of children, babies, who need to get
not only there's families
place.
And people who are working. They just want a better life. They're leaving a war-torn area.
Terrell's point.
His point is absolutely valid.
Absolutely. Don't be blindfolded.
Absolutely not.
Examine these folks and make sure that they are safe. And if there's any doubt, leave them back for now.
Well, yeah, look, if there's any doubt of a terrorist affiliation, certainly. But, there's a vetting process to be done.
Terrell, thanks for calling Court Radio. You got something else to say?
Yes, please.
Go ahead.
I think what we should bear in mind in that vetting process is that we do have schools in the Mideast known as madrasas that's turning these children against the U.S. and Western standards at very early ages.
Yes.
They can carry this seed with them until they become old enough to execute a plan that was set into them.
Yeah,
but you know why?
By terrorist
but you know why I don't. I understand that, and I think you're absolutely correct. But you know what I don't buy? I don't buy the fear that emanates from that, because let's be honest, it is 2015, and I can count on one hand the amount of actual foreign terrorist acts that have been perpetrated in the United States of America. I can't even count on both hands and both feet terrorist acts from our own against our own. So the fear is misplaced, in my opinion. You are correct that they're doing this in the Middle East, but it hasn't hit our shores just because 9/11 happened and just because some other acts have happened. It's very rare, and our security forces have been very good at keeping that out. It's just a fact. I speak in facts here.
I think we're on the same page. I'm sorry. I think we're on the same page.
I agree. We are on the same page.
As far as U.S. security is concerned, but we should not underestimate the intent of a person or a nation, and we should not allow our emotions when we talk about women and children who we've seen. Just recently saw a female bomber. We should not allow our intellect to be overrode by our emotions.
But we also,
I agree.
But
absolutely.
Listen again. I think we are all on the same page.
We are.
But one of the things that the folks like ISIS do is that they try to instill fear. Because
this is what they want.
They are only a very small, let's say there's 25,000 of them in a world of
300
billion people.
Right.
They really can't affect change. But what they can do is get into your head and make you act a way that you would not ordinarily act.
Which they absolutely have done with this Paris attack.
Yeah.
And everyone fed right into it. You have so many Americans just like, no, shut the border, build a fence, keep everyone out. If you're Muslim, you're terrorist, and all this stuff. And it's really disturbing because that's what they want us to do.
Right. So, yes, we should be safe. We should always be safe, with or without them, regardless. When somebody wants to come here, and it's not easy to get into the United States as an immigrant. This is usually a process that takes years.
Right.
So if we say we're going to take Syrians, they might be put somewhere, but before they actually get here, a long time goes by, and we go through their entire family history and all their connections and everything else. So it isn't like the doors are opened and the boats start landing in New York and these people jump out and they're
with guns and bombs.
But Terrell's right. Safety first.
Of course. And absolutely. And emotion. What he's really right about is emotion. Don't act on emotion.
All right. Terrell, we got to run. Thanks for calling Court Radio. Thanks for being a listener. Peace. We'll be right back in 2 minutes after these sponsored announcements.
If you've been in a car, truck, or motorcycle accident, you know what matters. Being able to afford medical care, providing for your family while you're out of work, knowing your rights, and getting just compensation. These things matter. That's why your attorney matters. I'm Dean Weitzman. If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, My Philly Lawyer will fight for you. Call 215-227-2727. My Philly Lawyer, when winning matters most. If you or a loved one has been the victim of a medical mistake or misdiagnosis, you know what matters. Getting proper care matters. Providing for your family matters. Your attorney matters. I'm Dean Weitzman. For more than 30 years, My Philly Lawyer has been holding hospitals and insurance companies accountable for medical errors. Let us fight for you. Call 215-227-2727. My Philly Lawyer, when winning matters most.
If you have legal problems and need answers, call My Philly Lawyer's Dean Weitzman first at 215-227-2727. Whether it's personal injury, medical malpractice, birth injury, or more, Dean is ready to fight for you and the compensation you deserve.
I'm Dean Weitzman. Facing any kind of legal or medical challenge can be overwhelming, but you don't have to go it alone. Call 215-227-2727. My Philly Lawyer, when winning matters most.
You were just hurt. It's not your fault. You're in physical pain. How do you get better? Who is going to help you recover? West Philadelphia Associates has highly trained doctors and staff that can help you today. Don't wait at a hospital. West Philadelphia Associates will work with your attorney, providing documentation of all injuries and the best plan for treatment to get you back to the life you deserve. With diagnostic studies to better detect injuries, West Philadelphia Associates doctors and staff will help you recover. West Philadelphia Associates, here to help you get better because you deserve it. Call 215-471-4714.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning. Welcome back. It's Court Radio, and I'm Dean Weitzman. I want to thank our regular listeners for participating in this experiment. And I'm joined in the studio with my co-host, the one and only, you know him as David M. Rappaport.
Hello, good morning.
David and I were chatting this morning about Syrian refugees. We were talking about addiction, and we were talking about legal issues. But we really want to get to our hot button topic, which is
Premises liability, or as lay people,
slip and falls. What happens when you fall on somebody else's property, and what do you do, and what is a good case? What is a case that will result in your ability to recover your damages? You know, in Philadelphia, there's kind of a rule of thumb. It's not an exact science, but it's close enough. And there's some case law to back this up. If it's a defect of like a raised sidewalk, and they're all over the city. When I grew up on Souder Street, we had trees.
Right, the roots.
There are no trees any longer, but we had trees. It was a very nice little neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And the tree roots would
always
raise up the sidewalk.
Always.
If one, for whatever reason, if one slab of sidewalk is raised above the other, it needs to be raised at least 1 inch. If it isn't raised an inch, it's not really a defect. And if it's not a defect, then there's no duty to repair it. Property owners have an obligation to repair those defects which they know or should know will cause some injury. And what the courts have determined is an appropriate amount where, you know, you just can't overlook it any longer is a 1 inch defect.
It's like a benchmark. It depends, it depends really on a case-by-case basis. But yeah, if it's less than an inch, it's going to be very hard to show that that's substantial. And the word they use is de minimis, meaning it's minor and, minimal defect, so it's not going to be something that needed to be addressed.
So you can fall, I guess, over a hair. Right? I mean,
or trip over your own, if your foot just gets caught on the concrete because your shoes are sticky, whatever. There could be a million different things that happen.
But what I'm talking about is a defect which causes you to fall, but it's not substantial. Right. A small raise in the sidewalk, a pebble on the sidewalk. Right. You hit that pebble the wrong way, your leg twists. You really did fall over the pebble. But the question is, does a property owner have an obligation to come out and sweep up every pebble on his or her sidewalk?
Right, at every moment.
And the answer is no. Right. No. That's just not the way the world works. So sometimes you're going to get hurt over a pebble or over a raised sidewalk, and we're going to say it's not a case.
Right. But that's only the first, right? But that's the first step, because obviously the next step is, okay, let's say there is a defect. Then you got to look at who's responsible. Usually it's the owner of the property that abuts it, the sidewalk, or if it's their property that you fell on, it's easy. But they have to have some asset, insurance, or something that you can collect from.
And sometimes,
or else bye-bye.
even, as you know, sometimes even institutions
Yes.
where you would expect them to have insurance. Institutions like
Hospitals.
St. Joseph's Hospital in Philadelphia. Guess what, folks? St. Joseph's Hospital doesn't have property insurance. They are bare. So if you have a defect on a St. Joseph's property,
which there are,
a legitimate defect, and you trip and fall or slip and fall and break your neck, there's no insurance to pay that claim.
Yeah. Tell me how that's possible. Guess what? It's possible.
It's an institution in Philadelphia.
They're a 501c3 institution, meaning a charitable organization. Now, you might think there's some regulations that would require them to have insurance. You're wrong. There aren't. Welcome to the world.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me that that's the case, but that's the case.
So you have a nonprofit organization
who is struggling because the budget.
The budget.
There was no budget yet, so they haven't gotten their money from the government.
I think that if they're struggling because of the budget, then they're not profitable.
Right.
Okay? Then they should go out of business.
Pretty much.
You know, like who needs a ball and chain around the necks of Philadelphians? Who needs
quite honestly, it's a fireball waiting to explode. Because think about it. I mean, so many people are employed there, and patients are serviced there, as an example. But it's just a moment away from imploding. As I use the example, what if someone really does get hurt catastrophically on that property? And they go to trial and they get a verdict of $5 million because that's what it's going to cost to care for them for the rest of their life, plus pain and suffering and everything else. They're going to own St. Joseph's Hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
So what we're kind of teasing out here. We have a defect, a recognized defect, something which anybody knew or should have known would be dangerous. The property owner needs to have insurance so that you can actually, at the end of this process, recover something.
Right.
How do you know if they have insurance? If you're driving an automobile and you're involved in an accident with me, I can actually go to the Department of Motor Vehicles to research that and find out whether you have a valid policy in effect on the date of loss. As a property owner, can I do that, David?
Well, you can search out the owner online, right? Philadelphia BRT. You can get all the information you need to get. I don't know of any source that'll tell you there's insurance.
Nope.
But if you notify them that you're making a case and you're going to sue them if they don't do something to compensate you, most owners of property that have insurance will give you that insurance information.
They will.
It would be ridiculous for them not to. Because if they don't, you would end up filing suit against them anyway. And
I've done
have
that.
To. Yeah,
I have a couple lawsuits pending right now.
You have no choice.
Against property owners who turned out not to have insurance.
Right.
And eventually we'll get a judgment against the owner, and that judgment can be levied against the property. But, you know, if there's any other debts against the property before we get that judgment.
Yeah, there's a slip and fall judgment. A personal injury judgment is unsecured. It's called an unsecured debt. So any type of debts that came before it, you know, mortgages, utilities, anything else, even credit cards or something that was a loan that was the property was used as collateral. That all goes before.
All right, let's talk to Denise on line 5 from Ben Salem, who has a slip and fall question. Hey, Denise, welcome to Court Radio.
Hi, how are you?
We're great, thanks. Hey, did you know that Bucks County was that has the highest incidence of young men's deaths from overdose?
Oh, my goodness. No, I did not know that.
Yeah, it was shocking to David and I.
Yeah, I live in Bucks County. So, yeah.
He's like a politician or something.
I do, Doylestown. Yeah.
Oh, Doylestown, nice area.
All right, so Denise, as we diverge into unrelated issues, what's your question about a slip and fall?
Okay, my question is, and I want to make this as minimal as possible to get right to the question. My girlfriend, I'm helping my girlfriend with her workman's comp case, and she was denied from the workman's comp judge through the circulation letter.
Okay. What do you mean you're helping her?
Well, she has like head trauma.
Okay.
Sorry, I just ran up 2 flights of steps.
That's all right. Relax.
It's your cardio for the day.
Yeah,
Denise.
really. We have a fib machine here. If you want to run over, we can rub it together. Pump, boom, and clear.
These guys are funny.
All right, go ahead. Denise.
Okay.
So she lost workers' comp.
she lost her first round, basically.
When did this accident happen?
2014.
October 2014. Okay.
Right.
And how was she injured?
She tripped over a chair at work.
Okay.
I worked with her.
Uh-huh.
We work in an office that the way that it's set up, where her seat was, there wasn't really like ample room to maneuver from around the desk.
Okay, so
she clearly has a workers' comp case.
She has only a workers' comp case.
Right.
She can't, part of the deal with workers' comp is you get workers' comp fairly easily. All you have to show is that you were injured at work and that your injury prevents you from doing your job.
Well,
okay,
right.
That's it. But you don't have to show negligence. Negligence is not an issue in workers' comp. It's only an issue in a third-party case where you're suing a third party. But you can't sue your employer for pain and suffering. You can only collect your wages. And
they denied her workman's comp. They wouldn't even give her temporary workman's comp. They gave her no money.
So does she have a lawyer?
She had Schwartz and Colton. They tried fighting for her, but the workman's comp judge declared that she wasn't feeling good when she had got to work that day, which she wasn't, but they... she wasn't, but it wasn't, what did I want to say? Now I'm getting frazzled.
Well, no, but let me, relax, but let me jump in here. What you're talking about is, the unfairness or the wrongness of the comp decision. And we can argue about that or we can agree with you. It doesn't matter, but that's not going to change anything. Okay? She has to go through the appellate process if
we
she
did that.
Okay. And if she
oral hearing is in February.
All right. So hopefully
that's all you can do.
That's it. You've done all you can do, and hopefully that hearing results in a comp decision. But as it pertains to slip and falls and premises liability that David and I are talking about today, the bottom line answer is that when you have a workers' comp claim, you do not have a claim against your employer. Now, let's just envision a different scenario, and I have a ton of these cases where I represent people who have been injured in workers' comp claims. They're at work. They're on their way to or coming from. They're in their work, environment. But the at-fault party isn't their employer. It's, let's say, the owner of the building who had an obligation to repair the sidewalk of his or her building that our client's employer rents space from. Well, here we have a scenario where we have a workers' comp claim. You get your wages and your medical expenses paid by your employer's workers' comp carrier, while at the same time you have a pain and suffering claim against the landlord who was negligent in maintaining his or her property. That's a case where there's both a workers' comp element and a third-party element in conjunction.
Okay.
But what you've described with your girlfriend is strictly like this was in the work environment, and if there was not enough space, that was something the employer did, and you can't sue your employer. So she doesn't have a case for her pain and suffering or any other element of her damages. She only has a workers' comp claim against the employer.
That's all she did do.
Right.
Well,
And you've done all you can do.
So that's why we're kind of telling you your answer. There's nothing else to be done. If your question is, what do we do, or why is this being... You've appealed the decision. You're going to have a hearing in February. That's all you can do.
I guess it's just surprising that she was denied, like not even awarded temporary work.
Well, welcome to... if you want to liken it to Social Security disability, everyone's denied initially almost.
This is true.
So,
well, I will say this: most of the folks that I represent and that I'm involved with on workers' comp are successful, and so
ultimately,
I think that most workers comp judges bend over backwards to help the claimants. That's my experience.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that too, and but she did feel like obligated to go to work that day, even though she wasn't feeling so. So she got a threatening write-up that she was to call out 24 hours in advance. She was the only one who received, my shift. I can call out 2 hours.
Yeah, it sounds like the employer's trying to say that she wasn't injured on the job.
Right.
She was sick, and that becomes a factual question. And witnesses help, coworkers who say,
Doctors.
"Oh no, I saw her fall."
Right.
You know, there's
Yeah, I
evidence.
That they made sure not to question me.
Well, you know, maybe that's not too late. In any event, thanks for calling Court Radio. Take those steps a little slower.
Nice talking to you.
On the way down.
All right,
yeah.
take care.
All right.
215-227-2727. Let's talk to Gail from Sewell, New Jersey on line 3. Hey, Gail, welcome to Court Radio.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. What can we do for you? How can we help Gail today?
I'm calling with the question regarding a slip and fall on ice.
Okay.
I slipped and fell in the parking lot where I live, where I am a renter.
Uh-huh.
And they basically said that they do not have to put ice in between the cars in
Salt.
the parking lot.
Uh-huh.
So, right.
So, but I am still suffering with this back pain and still have to go to a chiropractor, and it's almost been a year.
Right. Well, okay, so let's look at this for a second. You're saying two things. Do they have an obligation? And nobody's doubting your suffering. So your suffering doesn't make them have an obligation. So that's a separate issue. Your suffering is your damages. But before we get to damages, before we look at what you've suffered as a result of the injury, we have to cross that first threshold that David and I are talking about, which is negligence. Do they have a duty, and did they breach that duty? That's the key. Do they have an obligation, and did they violate that obligation? If the answer to that isn't in your favor, then you never get to the damages part. Doesn't matter how much you suffer because they're not responsible. So let's look at the negligence. You have you slipped on ice in between, so you were getting out of your car and you slipped?
I was going to the car, and there's a drain right behind the car. And the drain, around the drain, was covered with ice.
Was it raining or snowing at the time?
It had snowed, and there was ice on the ground.
How long before you fell had it snowed?
Had it stopped snowing?
Yeah.
Or was it still snowing?
Do you know the answer to
No,
that?
it was not still snowing.
Okay.
It was black ice. I didn't see it.
Right.
Okay. Well, David is getting to a point, and that is that in Philadelphia, there's a 6-hour rule. So if
it's really just notice, so it's everywhere has that. But yeah, there's a 6-hour rule in Philly.
Yeah, and so
but do they have notice? You know?
It has to have stopped precipitating, and there has to be enough time for people to be able to go out, do their inspections, and clean it. And in Philly, that's 6 hours from the last drop of snow that fell. So after the snow stops, the rain stops, the sleet stops, whatever it is, the property owner has 6 hours to get out, inspect, and remedy his or her property. And so that's an important issue. But if that time had gone by, and if there was ice in the parking lot, then the question is, did they have an obligation? Now, I will tell you that in New Jersey, there's a residential sidewalk statute, believe it or not, that says property owners don't have an obligation to repair their sidewalks.
Right, but that's the sidewalk.
That's a sidewalk. And so
that's different than Pennsylvania, obviously.
Yes, big difference.
Yeah, huge difference.
And so in New Jersey, as crazy as it is, like David and I were talking about in the 1-inch rule, like if a tree root pushes up a sidewalk more than an inch in Philly, you got to go out there, tear your sidewalk out, tear the roots out. Yeah.
So in Jersey, it's the township's responsibility. Is that what you're saying?
Or the association of the condo.
Well, now you're talking about, for your situation, it was the parking lot, and that is definitely if it's a condo association that you live in, that's definitely who's responsible for maintaining that.
If the condo association has a duty to maintain the parking lot and clear the ice and snow, then they're on the hook. However, I want to tell you one last tip, and that is I've represented people who sued their condo association only to find out that the owners of the condos all agreed beforehand that you can't sue the condo, and they signed a document that
what's in their deed, actually, the condo association.
It wasn't in their deed, but it became a part of their deed.
It become the association documents become part of the deed.
And they held a special meeting years before she fell.
Boy, that's
years
unusual,
before.
though.
They held a special meeting, and they decided nobody can sue the condo association, and everybody signed off on it.
So, well, that's interesting. I've never seen that before. So here's what you need to do. You need to look at your condo agreement, the homeowners association agreement, condo association agreement. You need to probably, it sounds to me, the only way you're even going to get to the idea of whether you can be compensated or not is you should go to an attorney. You should, consult with an attorney, have them write a letter to the condo association asking them to put the insurance company on notice and have it the claim investigated. Your position is they should have cleaned up. Their position is going to be they shouldn't. It's a dispute. You may be able to get a settlement. Who knows? But nothing's going to happen by just sitting around and not doing that.
So put them on notice. Let them know you fell. Let them know you were injured in the fall.
You're running out of time. You got a year has gone by. You only have another year. It's 2 years.
2-year statute of limitations, Gail. After that, you're out in the cold forever. Thanks for calling Court Radio. Gail from Sewell, New Jersey. Folks, we're going to take a real quick break where we allow our sponsors to make their announcements.
For 20 years, Center City Medical Center has provided premium expert medical services for Philadelphia. Whether you need musculoskeletal rehab or an immigration physical, call 888-945-EXAM. Our board-certified physicians have more than 80 years' experience from post-injury rehab to DNA paternity testing. To make an appointment at one of our 3 convenient locations, call 888-945-EXAM. Get premium expert care. Center City Medical Center, serving Northeast, North, and Center City, Philadelphia. If you've been injured on the job and are entitled to workers' comp, you need someone fighting for you from the start. Call Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law. Don't rely on your employer or insurance company to get it right. Call 215-512-1500. If you're entitled to workers' comp or it's being challenged, Jeffrey Gross can help get the money you deserve, and he won't get paid unless you get paid. Call 215-512-1500. Jeffrey Gross, attorney at law, representing Pennsylvania's injured workers for more than 20 years.
If you've been injured, the road to recovery can seem long. At United Therapy Centers, we're here to help. Call us 877-510-7764. With leading-edge technology and our team approach, we provide the highest level of patient care with a pain management program developed just for you. If you've been injured, we can help. Call United Therapy Centers toll-free 877-510-7764. United Therapy Centers, get on the road to recovery.
If you've been in a car, truck, or motorcycle accident, you know what matters. Being able to afford medical care, providing for your family while you're out of work, knowing your rights, and getting just compensation. These things matter. That's why your attorney matters. I'm Dean Weitzman. If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident, My Philly Lawyer will fight for you. Call 215-227-2727. My Philly Lawyer, when winning matters most.
The following is a paid program brought to you by My Philly Lawyer. The views and opinions expressed are those of the sponsor and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of the station and its management.
Need more legal answers? Here's more Court Radio with your host, Dean Weitzman.
Good morning and welcome back, Court Radio listeners. It's Dean Weitzman, joined in the studio with my co-host, David M. Rappaport.
Yo!
We've been chatting it up for the last 55 minutes, and we got about 5 to go.
5 left.
Before our friend Vince Hughes jumps on the mic. Let's Let's talk to Delphine on line 4 from North Philly. Hey, Delphine, welcome to Court Radio. Oh, Delphine.
Hello.
Hello. Good morning. Happy holidays.
Hi, Delphine. Welcome back.
Good morning. Happy holidays, guys.
Same to you. Yeah.
I have two questions since you're doing the second floor, but not right now. My first question is, I was trying to be a care provider for the said company. I live in North Philly. I think the company was somewhere on Red Line Avenue on Road, and I had to do said classes for 5 days. I did the classes. I paid $20 for my background check. I put another $40 for TB shots that they did for me. My thing is, after I did all this here, my criminal background came back. I had a misdemeanor. I couldn't get hired. And the misdemeanor happened, I'm 50-something years old. It was over 25 years ago, and I got denied to work for this company to be a care provider. Is that wrong of them for something that happened that I don't even remember 25 or 30 years ago?
Okay.
No.
And why was I denied?
Well,
is it wrong for them? Maybe
yes.
morally, but not
morally, but not legally.
Not legally.
I mean, to hold something against somebody from 25 years, but here's the kicker here. This is going to become illegal. This we have been promised. He has put his position, his political position on the line. Jordan Harris, you heard it here, says that the governor is going to sign this bill this year. Well, the year's
expungement bill
almost out. We are supposed to have a new expungement bill. Talk about how slow the wheels of the political system work. Here's a great idea, Delphine. They're going to allow you to have your slate wiped clean for misdemeanors that are more than, well, yours is way more, 25, 30 years.
Crazy.
They're going to allow your slate to be wiped clean, and it won't be held against you. And all they need to do is pass this law, and you're going to be good as gold. But until they do, unfortunately, there's no expungement in Pennsylvania currently for misdemeanors, and the employer is within their rights to deny you employment.
Well, I was going to say, more importantly, even with Jordan's law, can we call it Jordan's law?
Yeah.
It was partially Jordan's law because
he would probably,
Senator Greenleaf also had a lot to do with it.
Right.
In fact, I think Jordan said he was the one who really, So let's give him his props. But even, I think the employer was within their right to not hire you anyway, even if that wasn't the reason. Could have been another reason that we have at-will employment unless, at that point you hadn't even had any contract with them.
At-will employment in Pennsylvania means that an employer can hire or fire you for any reason at all, so long as it's not discriminatory. So it could be the most unfair, immoral, unethical reason you could think of, and they're allowed to do it. And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
That's
really
the
the bottom
Delphine.
line.
And so do I think it's right? No. I give people second chances. My Philly Lawyer is the home of second chances.
Right. But the point with the law is that they would never found that, and that would have been your saving grace.
And so the politicians need to get off their butts and pass this law. The expungement law for misdemeanors. Yes. And here he is.
And here he is.
Here's our
Mr. Hughes with the news.
Resident public official.
Yes.
Public servant.
Public servant. Here's our public servant, Vincent Hughes. Will we get this expungement law?
We're working very hard. Jordan Harris, a good friend of yours.
Yes.
Representative Jordan Harris is working on that, making progress, but we got some knuckleheads in Harrisburg.
The governor said he's going to sign it, right?
He would. I believe he would sign that.
So it's Republicans who want something for it. Come on.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Your children's children.
They want, your firstborn, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. First and second.
It's and second. Right?
Delphine, we hope this law is passed very shortly. We thank you for calling Court Radio and for being a part of the Court Radio listener audience. David, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, folks. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Same time, same place.
The preceding